And we're back. What's up, guys? How you doing today?
Doing all right, you know.
All right, quick. Nice little Saturday, right?
A little bit exhausted. Just worked like 9 doubles back to back.
But you didn't answer my question. It's Saturday, right?
Unfortunately, I think it's Saturday.
Yeah, we do lose track of time. A lot of the times I don't even know what day it is.
We work too much and it's just crazy.
I mean, today was Taco Saturday for me, so.
Tacos.
Taco Saturday. It was greatness. I wish you guys were there.
8, right? 8 tacos?
8 tacos.
My breakfast was amazing.
What was that?
3 cups of coffee.
Here we go.
With no cream, no sugar.
The trolling begins.
Bam. Hey.
Well, Mitch had a butter bagel with jam. Not even jelly.
Exactly.
You know, he don't want that fake stuff.
Right.
Want the pure stuff.
What the fuck?
Mitchell, why didn't you put your phone on airplane mode like I told you to?
Because it's on submarine mode. Let me stop. Oh, man.
That is terrible.
All right, so I guess we can get to this.
So what kind of heat we dropping today?
All right, what are we dropping?
Well, I mean, we're all in sweaters, so it's going to get a little warm in here.
It is going to get warm.
I don't know if we're going to be bringing that much heat, but no.
I mean, at least there's a pole across the street we could just grind on.
Stupid ass. All right, so we threw this idea up in the air, and we wanted to throw out, like, I guess we're going to keep on the same format as last week with, like, the what does something mean to you. So I guess today will be about motivation and privilege and what those things mean to you, how they go together, how they work against each other.
That's fair. How they work with each other or against each other?
Both. Your interpretation.
Yeah, so pretty much, what do you consider privilege?
I consider privilege something that's handed down to somebody without having to work for it or having some sort of, let's say, a hierarchy background. Let's say, for example, back in the medieval era with the king and queen rules, primarily the sons or the oldest son will become the next king.
Or like monarchies.
Yes. I would consider that as a privilege, a special right assigned to a specific person or a group.
What about you, Adam?
Well, privilege for me is just...
Hey, no phone, Mitchell.
Go.
Privilege for me would be... Well, for me is being able to wake up every day and do exactly what I want to do. I mean, sure. Like, aside from the luxuries of having, like, financial freedom and stuff like that, like, we can wake up and say what we want to whom we want. And you don't get in trouble for it. You can live the way you want to live, do what you want to do, unless you're, like, being a criminal. That's a different story. But, having access to things that not everyone in the world has access to, so we're privileged in that sense. Like, look at our technology. We have access to things we don't need access to, but we have access to them. They make our lives easier. They make our lives fun. They make us more sedentary. That part's probably not that great, but I mean, I think these are all points of privilege that we as Americans all share. And I really appreciate and enjoy that.
Okay. So I guess on with that, let's just check the definition of privilege. A special right, advantage, or immunity granted or available only to a particular person or group. For example, education is a right, not a privilege. So on to that, do you think a lot of people tend to put a negative vibe towards the definition of privilege, especially nowadays? When someone says, oh, you're privileged, it's always usually said in a negative light.
Because it's always attached to race or color.
It is. Race, color, class.
In most people's minds.
There's also the attachment of history.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, in our country, there was a time when one group of people were way more privileged than another. I mean, I don't see that as being the case today. I don't see it.
Okay. With that being said, do you think that, all right, it is well known that certain people probably have more privilege than others, but does that necessarily mean there are people with no privilege at all? Because I feel like in some way, shape, or form, everyone has some type of privilege in their lives.
I think that when it comes down to it, yeah. I mean, if you're born into a wealthy family, a rich family, you have a lot more privileges that you're born into. Like you're 16, you get a car. You know, you have a huge Sweet 16.
Mm-hmm.
You don't know what it is to need for anything because you have everything there.
Mm-hmm.
So I guess in a sense like that, you were born into a family that came with all of these things, which we can consider privileges. And going by the definition, I guess your parents, if they were wealthy, they would make it your right to take part in that. So.
I mean, there is that. And I mean, a lot of people tend to kind of point towards that. And I feel like nowadays people really need to start looking inward when it comes to privilege because, yeah, you might, for example, like live in a family or be part of a community where you might not have the privilege to get, like, let's say, a car that young. But at the same time, you know, us as people, especially in this country, we have the privilege for other things too, like opportunity. That's one thing that people tend to usually forget. The simple privilege of opportunity to do something. It's very powerful. And people tend not to think about that because a lot of times they always put privilege with material. Status. You got the nice house. Oh, you're privileged. You were just given that. Or you got the nice job. Oh, you had the privilege to get the interview or know the guy who got you the job. But at the same time, we do have the privilege of finding an education, learning what we want, getting whatever profession we want, being who we want to be. And that in itself is a pretty nice privilege.
The privilege to literally go after whatever it is you want.
Yeah. If you want it, you can go after it. It might not be as easy as, say, the next guy, but it's still there.
And just because you don't achieve it doesn't mean that you didn't achieve it because of lack of privilege.
Mm-hmm.
It just means you didn't make it.
That goes hand in hand with what you mentioned earlier, with the whole motivational point.
Mm-hmm.
By obtaining privilege, you would also have to have some sort of motivation to go for that. People don't just wake up and say, oh, I want to become a doctor, so I go through the education, spend the 6 years. It has to be, you need to become a doctor. You need that motivation. Once you get that education, then you could kind of fall into a category of privilege. Now you're able to fall in a ranking that's high. Maybe.
Yeah. Also, just to add to it, since we're going to bring motivation and privilege into it, we can even go beyond, the USA and look at less privileged, more underdeveloped countries, third world countries, deep in South America, stuff like that.
Mm-hmm.
They don't have the freedoms that we have. They don't have the privileges that we have. China, you say something about the president, and you get shot. So
I wouldn't say you get shot. You probably would get grabbed, captured, questioned,
maybe killed. You get disappeared.
You get disappeared.
You get disappeared. And then now when we add motivation into the mix, you get people who come from those other countries, those less privileged countries, and they come here with all the motivation in the world, and they achieve. And statistically speaking, you can look it up. They do a lot better than Americans do. We come from privilege; they don't. So they come here and they take advantage, and they strive for what they want, and they do it. You know why? Because they know what it is not to have. And they see everything that's in front of them. Whereas we were born with everything in front of us.
The hardship that they have to struggle motivates them because they don't want to continue going through that hardship that they're going through. Having to split one meal between 4 or 5 people for an entire day or so. So I guess you could kind of say growing up in certain circumstances would give you motivation.
You know what's a privilege that we have here that not all countries have? Paved roads.
True.
Paved fucking roads.
Something as simple as fucking roads.
Dude, driving in South America, not every road is paved. A lot of them are just look like Call of Duty.
It's just dirt that's been flattened because of all the cars that just went by.
Or just torn up concrete. Some of them are like brick roads they haven't been tended to in a really long time, so they're kind of terrible to drive over. You can't even drink the water in some countries. We have water in our bathrooms.
We have that. We have tons of different brands of water.
For no reason.
They're just brands of water. And then some people can barely get filters for their water. You know, some people can barely get enough food for their family, and then we have people throwing out leftovers because it's a day old. So it's little things like that we have to kind of step back and think about. Because I feel like people tend to be too busy on pointing the finger or being mad at what the person has, someone else has, and not what they have. And it's funny because it's a saying I heard a while back. It's either you're the guy who goes get it, or you're the guy who watches the guy go get it. Which kind of goes into motivation. And I feel like, honestly speaking, it's getting very, very hard for people to try to find some motivation nowadays. Especially with the fact that people are just too busy to point the finger at other people or blame other people for their problems. Sorry, but sometimes, most of the time, in order to fix a problem or fix a lifestyle that you have to look within yourself. You have to start with yourself. Instead of saying the system's rigged, the job's unfair. Like, honestly speaking, you're not happy with your job. You're not happy with how you're getting paid. Understandable. Start motivating yourself to find something else. Take that paycheck, put something aside, invest in that money. Even though you're not getting paid a lot, invest in that. And then slowly find a way to get out of that job. At least that's something. At least that's some type of goal. At least that's some type of light at the end of the tunnel. I got a shitty job right now, but I'm going to work on getting something else.
And that kind of lends to last week when we had to cut that part short.
Mm-hmm.
But you have to be your own motivation. You have to create it.
Exactly.
Sit around and wait for it. It's not going to come the same way $1 not going to come.
And at the same time, we can do that because we have the privilege to do that. We have the privilege to be like, I don't like the job I'm in. I can leave. There's certain places where you just assign a job. That's your job. You're packing boxes. That's it. That's all you can do.
There are places where it's set up so you can't even advance.
Mm-mm.
You are where you are, and that's where you're going to be. At least here, as bad as things have gotten, we're not going to get political, but it's a lot harder to make it up the ladder these days, but it's not impossible. Anyone can do it, but most won't.
There's typically some sort of loophole that people could bypass and jump. Typically.
I mean,
0.1%, but it's there.
Let's not really get into loopholes, because when you get into loopholes, then that starts leading into like that small 1% of people who cheat the system. But when you start focusing on people who cheat the system, then it's like you have to stop thinking about certain standards. Like, it's like, all right, right now where I'm at the bottom of the list. I shouldn't be investing all my energy to get to the top of the list. I should only be focusing on just going one level up. Once I'm able to get that one level up, then I can focus on the next level. I'm not going to be here and then I got to go up. No, it's not going to work.
You can't look up at a building's roof and go from the floor to the roof. You have to go floor by floor.
You ever tried jumping up a flight of stairs? That's literally what that is.
Well, but what I meant by a loophole is just finding the bypass of a standard that is set to keep you there.
I see what you mean. So like
the top tier will say, all right, we want to keep the low tier people at this level. Give them as much criteria or goals where they're stuck there at that level. Now, being a person that doesn't want to continue staying at the level, now you have to find a loophole within that person's system to go up a level. Not saying a loophole to jump straight to the top, but increase, like you said, you can't jump one flight of stairs.
You're basically like saying just finding your way out of the rat race.
Correct.
Like with the stuff that Robert Kiyosaki preaches.
Mm.
So just
it's a slow process,
it's a
but
super slow
you
process.
have to find that one route that would give you at least close to 100% guarantee going up the next level.
And there are hurdles. There are hurdles. Like he didn't go into specifics, but the way you go into college and they offer you a student credit card, right?
Mm-hmm.
Then you take out the student loans and all of that stuff. Meanwhile, and not to like look at who has more, but just going down this just to have the conversation. The people who come from like those more wealthy families and stuff like that, they don't worry about that. They're taught about money. We're not, generally. And so they're not taking out the loans. They're not taking out the student credit cards. They're not like tanking their credit at an early age, only to find out 10 years later, like, holy crap, I made all these mistakes and now I'm going to try to fix it. You're 30.
Mm-hmm.
You know?
So, right.
But we do have the privilege to climb out of that effing hole.
Yeah, you just got to find the way. It's a little unfair that we might find out how to get out a little later in life, but at least it's there.
Mm-hmm.
That's why I feel like certain things like this of what we're doing can at least in some way, shape, or form help the younger people get out of it.
Hopefully.
And I do hope that more people like us do something like this to kind of help the younger generations get out of it. Like, I feel like right now I'm at a point in my life where, yeah, I can sit here and just be sad about the fact that I'm learning things now where I should have learned them in my 20s. But it comes to a point, there's no time for that anymore. Like, all right, I have the opportunity now to learn what I need to learn to get through life, whether it's controlling finances, my career, living space, stuff like that. I have the ability to do it now. I've always had it. I might have not had the chance to learn it earlier, but I do now. And it's always nice to be able to kind of just take that knowledge and then spread it to the younger generation so that way they could do that too. Because there's going to be a lot of people out there going to try to fuck them over. For example, like student loans and stuff. Like, sorry, in my opinion, I don't think an 18-year-old is in no position to be thinking about finances and loans and banks and stuff.
It's true.
For school.
Yeah. Another thing, we're doing this, and let's say 10 people hear this, right? And those 10 people become inspired to start spreading their message, which may or may not have been inspired by our message, and they all go and start podcasts. And what if one of those 10 just out of nowhere, their platform explodes, and now the message is just moving? Like, that's really the goal here.
And if you want to bring it to a smaller scale, even at least like have someone just be like inspired or motivated by anything that we say or anyone else says similar to what we're saying, and then spread that within the family.
That too.
Helping their kids, helping their brothers, helping their parents. And then just at least within that family, spread it out. And then telling other people and, paying it forward.
And that goes back to the privilege.
We have the privilege of doing that. We have the privilege of spreading thoughts and knowledge. I mean, it's a little weird. You're probably like, oh, really? Like, yeah, whatever. Like, no, there's a lot of places out there in the world, a lot of places in communities where that's not allowed.
Dude, we woke up one day, spoke about starting a podcast, went, bought equipment. Look what we're doing.
Mm-hmm.
That's a privilege.
Yeah. Like, we just go online, get the equipment, plan something out, hurdles, mistakes here and there. Down the line, like, at least we're still doing it. I mean, I don't want to sit here and like toot each other's horns, but it's a very close example, because we could just speak for our own life experiences. This is just a small example of something.
It's a small example of privilege and motivation in one.
Mm-hmm.
Why we're sticking to it, and where we were born affords us the privilege to be able to do it.
Exactly. Even regardless of the fact that We could look outside our windows and probably not be too happy of the neighborhoods we live in, the families we grew up in, or even just the culture that we're around. But that's not a boundary. An obstacle is not a boundary. And a lot of people need to understand that. Understanding that is one of the many steps in motivating yourself to do what you feel is best for your life. Whatever it is you want to do. And seeing the privileges that you have at that moment can be used as tools to motivate you. Wherever they may be. For example, just a short example, us. Being able to find decent equipment to just get our thoughts together. Finding, time to do it. Because, everyone's busy. Everyone's got things to do. We understand that. But a lot of people have more time than they think. It's just, you just have to kind of cut back on these impulsive things, cut back on the Netflix, cut back on, hanging out with your friends that one night, You don't have to do that extra time at work. Just that one day. I understand you need the money, but just that one day, invest in it. Because a lot of times, I got to go to work. I got to make that money. Yeah, but time is money. And it's funny because it's so old. That saying is so old. It feels played out that it feels like it has no value. No one listens to it, but it's true. Time is money. Time makes money.
Yeah.
Money gives you options. And options give you a decent lifestyle. Look, not everyone's going to get that goddamn mansion. Stop thinking about the goddamn mansion. Focus on the one-bedroom apartment. And from the one-bedroom apartment, own a home or something, whatever.
Focus on setting attainable goals, realistic goals.
Start there first.
You're a lot, and I think this is a problem in our communities. Our people tend to be big dreamers. Except they don't see the road work.
Yeah.
They only see point A and then Z.
They want the result without the process.
Mm-hmm. So they want to go from the project apartment to the mansion. And it doesn't work that way. I mean, if you hit the lotto, okay, cool.
But even then, you can get the money to get it, and then all that money's gone, and then you're back down to square one because you didn't invest in it.
You didn't learn.
Exactly.
You have to learn how to deal with that money in order to keep that money going and growing.
Ooh, you could also
going and growing.
You could also say it's a trait of being jealous also.
Yeah, jealousy is jealousy.
You become jealous of that person having that, let's say, BMW, that Mercedes, or that Lamborghini.
Because we live in a status community now. We live in a status world now where everything's all status, and Facebook and Instagram, and look what I got. And like that typical meme, I got this at this age. What are you doing? Or whatever.
True.
People always showing off, and then you're looking at yourself like, damn, what am I doing?
And they also, a lot of times, people will give excuses as to why those people have what they have and why they don't have what they have. I mean, I see the nice car, and I'll use that as a point of motivation. I'd like to attain that one day. So let's start doing the work to get there. Mm-hmm. And it really just, it's a perspective shift. Just turn it. The glass is not always half empty. If you picture it as half full at least 60% of the time, you'd have better days.
The funny thing about it is that, half empty, half full. Doesn't matter. There's still water. There's still water in the damn cup. True. It's not empty.
That's true, too.
People no, it's not empty. There's still water in there. But he has more water than me. You could still drink.
You got water.
You got water.
You're still being hydrated.
And that's all it is. Because, what was it? That fucking dude, he was walking down the fucking shit. Brain freeze. Antarctica.
Brain fart.
That too. It's a pun. Antarctica, brain freeze. But yeah, that dude.
Anyways.
But yeah, he traveled.
Wait, the one that walked across it?
Yeah.
I forgot his name.
Yeah.
He was on Rogan.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Him, on his own. Walked the whole thing with bare minimum essentials. People thought it was impossible. I'm sorry, but if a dude can walk on foot across Antarctica, you can save a couple bucks.
That's true.
Exactly.
Yeah,
you can put $20 aside and just not look at it and invest in it to do something that you want to do. Whether it's schooling, a job, I don't know, fixing your car, getting a car, you know, getting the nice suit for the interview for the better job. You can do that. If you look at all these crazy achievements people do just to do them, like that fucking dude who was on the tightrope, and then he was on like a unicycle on the tightrope, and he had a guy strapped on his back, and he played piano, and he tightrope.
Oh, back in the day.
Yeah, just to do it.
just to show it could be done.
If he can do that, you can study a little longer for that test.
Once upon a time, a 4-minute mile was seen as impossible. Mm-hmm. Impossible means it cannot be done until it was.
Exactly.
You know, all it took was one person to say, I'm going to do this. And did it. And now a ton of people do it.
Yeah, come on, man.
You just got to set yourself that goal and set the necessary preparations for it. And just go for it.
Just go for it. If so many other people can do all these extraordinary things, you can do one simple, extraordinary, like tiny little extraordinary thing for you.
You know, and for our like 3 viewers, we're gonna take a photo of our setup so you can see that there's nothing spectacular about it, but what we have works for what we want to do.
We'll be very transparent about it. We just have a simple laptop, a mixer, and some mics,
and a damn smartphone.
Yeah.
Oh, and a cheap tripod.
Hey, that smartphone took me time to get, money to get.
That's true. I
One of the
that.
best brands ever.
It's not an advertisement.
Hashtag Android.
You hear this guy?
Yeah, he's saying stuff.
I'm just saying Android over Apple.
I mean, I swing both ways. Hashtag pansexual.
But yeah, like really going down to the core of it, in order to find some type of motivation in your life, you need to just sit back and think about the privileges that you do have at that moment. They will always go hand in hand. And then with that motivation, you can achieve more things in life where you don't have to worry so much about the other guy's privilege. And just focus on yourself. Like, don't worry about that guy. Oh, this guy has this and that. Look at that nice house. And don't worry about that guy. Oh, he's got the hot girlfriend. Don't worry about that.
None of that is
use
gonna help
that
you.
person as fuel to
Not even just
go
use it
get
as fuel.
None of it's going to help you further you.
Yeah.
But then again, it's like not having something and not knowing it exists. You see another person having it, creates that motivation to go get that.
But the thing is, like, everyone knows someone has it. Like, you don't have to actually, like, be around or see someone have it. Everyone knows someone is living better than they do. But it shouldn't really just be about that. It should be like, what can I do for me right now for myself? What do I personally need?
You could also say people don't know what they need in order to get there. You could kind of use them as a stepping stone to prepare yourself.
But we live in
not follow the exact same
path. We live in the information age right now.
What I always say, Google's a thing.
It is. The internet will give you answers. And
you don't want to believe me?
But it was something that was set by somebody else. So there's a road that was created.
It's not about that. It's about...
But it goes beyond that point.
Somebody created that information. So there's a road that you could follow.
The point is that...
And create your own.
But whatever you want to do, you can find information on how to get there, how to start, how to be what you want to be. The question is, are you willing to do the work? Are you willing to get up and be motivated? And when you don't feel motivated, are you willing to fucking create it? You have to be your own. Because no one's going to do it for you. No one's going to push you out of bed. Do you think I'm going to go over to Mitch's and wake him up early? No, he's going to get to work late every day like he does. That's just a thing. But when he gets here, he works his ass off. Sorry, Mitch.
Good save. Good save. But, you know, on that note, like, it's very simple. You can go to your libraries. You can read up on books. If you're too lazy to go to the library, you can always go to Google. If Google's too confusing for you, go on YouTube.
And if you don't like to read, we got audiobooks.
Exactly. We have audiobooks. If you don't want to pay for the audiobooks, go online, check out so many videos. Just type in what you want and just go down the rabbit hole. Just go down a rabbit hole, and eventually you'll find what suits you.
Dude, we live in a society that everything has been so streamlined for us that we can literally be lazy and still make it.
Exactly.
All you need to do is be willing to put time into the things that matter. Because you'll sit there, and not us, but people will sit there and play Fortnite for 17 hours.
Thinking they're going to be the next ninja. Like, I'm sorry, don't worry about ninja. You know what? Instead of trying to be ninja or any other type of streamer, be something beyond that. Change the game.
Be the one thing that no one else can be. Be yourself.
Exactly.
You know?
But people are too busy trying to, it's like, oh, I want to be the next Travis Scott, Michael Jordan, Tony Hawk. I'm thinking of sports, a lot of sports.
Because that's what's thrown at us.
True.
That's one of the biggest media out there.
Another thing, we have the privilege to like study these people. We can study Warren Buffett and everything he's done throughout his life and his career. You know, we can study people like Steve Jobs and what he did.
And the funny thing is, like a lot of people will probably argue and go, well, you know, I didn't go to his college. I didn't go here. I didn't do that. It's like, yeah, but let's say like, you know, a very famous like programmer, like, oh, I didn't go to school he went to. Yeah, but he did wake up an hour earlier than he needed to and had a morning routine. You can do that. You know, he spent at least 2 hours a day studying this or did some jogging to like clear his head. You can do that. You don't have to go to the same school he went to. You don't have to be born in the same family or race or community he was in, but you can at least take something from him or her or whoever, whether it be a routine, a mindset, a strategy. Take those bits and pieces from all these multiple people and see what fits for you and use that for whatever it is you want to do in your life.
Whatever it is you want to do, you apply it to your everyday.
Apply it. That's it. Just take those little ingredients and put them all together. Make your own you cake. And sometimes people just need that someone to tell them that. Because a lot of times people don't tell people that anymore. People don't sit people down and try to, you know, explain things thoroughly in a comprehensible way. Just how to, like, just get to that first step.
And people are a little afraid to ask for help.
Yeah, too prideful. The
Way
egos.
too prideful. You're not weak if you need help. You just need help. You're human.
Whatever happened to, like, so every time a teacher said there's no such thing as a stupid question, like, just kind of left your head when you were growing up? There was no such thing as a stupid question. Oh, but he laughed at me because I said the question. Don't worry about that. You'll get that one extra grade on the test. He won't because he fucking laughed at you. He's too busy doing that. But you asked the question, you understood it. You're one step forward. Because a lot of times the people who laughed at us in school were the ones who got left behind.
It's true.
It is what it is. People are too worried about thinking about the now.
You got anything else?
I'm kind of drained out. I was pretty passionate right there.
That was good. That was good. So yeah, that's basically what privilege and motivation are to us. And I guess hopefully you guys have some takeaways from this little episode. You know, you guys can be what you want. You guys can go after what you want, and don't let a broken mindset hold you back.
And it's not the end either. Like, we can always come back and we can always go deeper into these types of motivations and what to do, steps and stuff.
It'd be nice if, like, in the comments, you guys let us know if you'd like to hear more about this, like to hear more of our thoughts on it. Tell us if we ramble too much. We need it all. We need it all. But, you know, let's not bore you anymore. Hope you guys enjoyed. This is You Drop That. And we'll see you next week.
Signing off. Peace.
Peace.
Peace.